Hello and welcome to this new version of what was called 40 demos is now Fortistacks. This project is on GitHub in the Fortinet Solutions CSEs. That's my team, a team of experts in Fortinet around NAV, clouds, automation, among other things. This project called Fortistacks aims to allow people in and out Fortinet to have their own version of the NAV stack. So NAV described what a telco operator, that can apply to many others actually, but we develop in this Etsy group this architecture with the NAVI. It's basically a cloud, OpenStack, VMware, others. Fortistack will do that for you. A Mano, management and operation. So a VNF manager that does the orchestration, manage the catalogs, the onboarding, the description of your network functions. And of course, network functions in our cases will be, of course, FortiGate. Back to Fortistacks. The Fortistacks is here on GitHub. You have a better explanation here for the curious of you. So what you need, requirements. You need one machine. That's it. Yes, you will have the full thing on one little machine. So let's do that. The snapshot. So here I use VMware because it's easier for me to show you the recording, etc. You can, of course, and I recommend also, do it on real hardware and not virtualized, like Intel Nuke, for example, which is what I have handy at home, or even your laptop. So let me show you the settings. There is a few things to know. On the CPU, what you really have to pay attention for is to expose the hardware-assisted virtualization to the guest. The guest needs to be able to run VMs or with KVMs. So you need to be able to show that. You need a few CPUs. Remember, you will have a full-blown OpenStack, quite some RAM. I will say less than 16 gigabyte is going to be problematic. 24, 32 is recommended. Here I use 2 hard disks. You can do with 1, but you absolutely need to have a specific partition for ZFS. For the curious of you, again, we'll check that later. So here we go. Our machines is started. Let me see if I can. And that's another one. If I can connect to it. Yes, that's the wrong user. Here we go. Now that I am connected to it, I use Biobu because my machine is removed to a VPN, etc. And I love Biobu anyway. If you know screens, Biobu is screens on steroids, and I strongly recommend to have a look at it. It allows you to work read and write with someone. So people doing support, helping others, it's great. It's just great. Just don't miss the opportunity to play with it. So now that I have machines with a 100 gig minimum free partition. I have a 80. I will change the readme. 80 is enough. I'm going to use Git to clone that project. And that means once you enjoy playing with it, you want to do some other things, you propose your own demos, be my guest. Do some pull requests with your goodness. So here I know that my free partition is the second disk, dev sdb. When I have only one machine, so I do SDA something. If you're already running on desktop environments, remove desktop. It will restart your machine, etc. Which is also why you better run this in BioView. But the desktop part is going to allow do some changes in your desktop environments, especially Vino servers, so allow VNC access by default without the encryption to allow the normal client on macOS, or is the work for Windows or RDP, etc. So yes, it's less. It's basically that. So if you want to do it manually, if you have your own, you just don't put desktop there, and it will not restart LiDM, and you won't get kicked out or feel like something very nasty went on. Again, will be updated in the README. So know that this is started. We're going to let it run for a while and come back, accelerate a little bit and come back when it is done. Okay, we are done as recommended. I'm going to reboot that machine. See that now sudo does not take any password anymore. That's the sudo ERS part of the command line. And now we can see that we even have a desktop. If you wait a little bit, okay. Let me show you that you can even BNC to it from your default Mac client. Ta-da! Works. So I will switch that because it's a bit heavy on CPU loads, but works in many situations that can be useful. We'll do a couple of little updates also here, a bigger display. Okay, bigger display. And remove the lock. So that you can follow the rest of the presentation pretty handy. Okay, so we have Bible again, Fortistacks, and this time we go to Ubuntu OpenStax. And the only thing you have to do sorry, but I have a French keyboard. So if you have a non-English keyboard, you can do this. It's better for me. You just run deploy OpenStack. And this, guys, is really getting all the setup for you. Little bit of explanation. I use LXD, and the canonical OpenStack. So the Ubuntu version of it based on Juju. So here we have the LXD setup. The default for LXD is not to use the ZFS on a partition, but on loopbacks, and it creates all kind of problem in this setup. So I do the partition. That's why you have to do the partition in the first place. And now this script is deploying Juju. Some of you may be very curious about what's going on here and what actually all this magic looks like. It's open source code, so for the curious of you, you can have a look inside the code. As you can see, it's mainly bash for all of it, so you should not be lost. This one is a bit particular because it's the Fortistacks, but you will. Let's go to see deploy. Deploy is here, so you will deploy Mitaka. Change the password. So all the passwords are Fortinet. It's usually admin Fortinet, except if absolutely necessary to be something else. And it's basically add the model, do the OpenStack, deploy, and use Juju wait to wait for completion. And then you will see all the other scripts are going to be the same way. You can run the different pieces parts once you want it. Yes, a minus yes is missing here. You won't have to do that. I will fix it. So now it's going on. What we can do is we can have a look at it. So you can do Juju GUI. As mentioned, it's admin Fortinet. And you can see our OpenStack being deployed with all the different services, the dashboard, Neutron API, Cinder, etc. This is not intended to give you a training on what OpenStack is. If you need that, contact me by email or via GitHub. I have plenty of friends who are living out of training people on OpenStack or even doing certification on different models and etc. What you have to remember is OpenStack is composed of many different projects put together, which is called a stack. That's why we have 40 stacks. what you have to understand and see here is the composition and the modelization of OpenStack globally. A full OpenStack with Ceph, Cinder on Ceph, Glance on Ceph, all the goodies, multiple Nova compute, and every services and instance of services, because some of them like Ceph Unit 3 have their own containers, LXC containers. So this part can take quite some time. So let's also have a look at what's going on here. Let me show you the power of Bioboo. Yes. You can see Bioboo here. And when you change size, for example, you change on the other one. Okay, I will let that run so you can monitor what's going on this side. Let's do the opposite. Be better. And here you can see the Juju weight. So when the full installation and Juju will be settling down, it will exit. So you can just wait that part to exit, or you can monitor this and see what Juju is doing on all the different machines. This being said, we're going to leave that running. It can take quite some time depending on your bandwidth and machines. And once we're done, we come back to deploy a real FortiGate on it. And we are back. Now the OpenStack is deployed. I need to collect, so you need to run get cloud image to get the image, Linux images to put on your OpenStack and to be able to restore VMs. Let me put that a little bit bigger. Okay. During that time, so we're just downloading a bunch of files. We can go and see OpenStack running. So you go to OpenStack dashboard, it's on the top, go to expose, and you click on this. You can also do it from the command line with Juju status OpenStack dashboard. Let me switch on Bioboo to show you that. If you go up, okay, yes, macOS is not best for that. You can find the same IP up there. Okay, let's go. So we can do admin Fortinet. Okay. And voila, we have a working stack. If we go to network topology, we can probably see that there is nothing there. So we have an OpenStack deployed, but it's not configured at all. So you can't, you don't have image, you don't have networks, etc., etc. And it can be quite painful to do it yourselves. So of course I did a script to do that for you, which is called guest configure OpenStack. But we need those images to be downloaded. Of course, when you do this regularly, you don't need to download those images all the time. But for now, we need to wait a little bit for those to be downloaded, especially CentOS, because it's a bit bigger than the other ones. But it's coming into play. CRS will be fast. It's small. And we're done. So we can now do configure OpenStack. It will install all the necessary client modules. Create different networks. These steps of creating the networks, etc., you can see that in the command lines. You can read the script. This one is a bit complex because it collects some info from Juju and is very adaptive on many deployments. This part of setting up an OpenStack and making sure you can access from the external, access to the external, having the image and all that can be very time consuming if you do it by hand, and of course we don't want to do that. So that's why it's all and fully automated here for you, even uploading the image. Let's have a look at that. So in a matter of basically 3 or 4 scripts, you get a fully loaded, ready to go OpenStack. You can probably even, now that we have Trusty onboarded, check if it works. Small networks, we use management. XNet is for accessing the external network, so you usually don't connect to it. Don't have network ports. All the rest is by default, which means this key also has been uploaded for us, and it's the key SSH key of your own machine. And if you want user data and other things, but it's ready to go, so let's go. Start it. Just to validate my OpenStack is up and running. Ta-da! Voila. If you can see the logs here, it means the machines actually did something. In this version, I log a bug about that. You can't access the console. Sorry about this. It's going to be solved, hopefully. There are ways to do that. I will probably make an add-on to the README how to do it if you need to. Because actually you don't really need to do that. What you need to do is associate a floating IP, create one on the XNet, associate it, off we go, 10, 10, 10, 11, 13, Ubuntu, ta-da! And as you can see, I am on the machine U, and if I do an apt update, you can also see that I can connect to the internet. So I have a working OpenStack. I can do the same from the command line. And I cannot delete this because I still have a machine only, so I'm scarce on resources. I'm not wasting them. I can probably run it, but I don't want to overload this. Now we're going to move to play with FortiGate. And now we're going to play with FortiGate and OpenStack. So I have my clean OpenStack here. All good and running. In our project here, Fortistacks is aimed to be also shared with the OpenStack and orchestration vendors, etc. So it's fully open source. You can contribute. You're welcome to contribute. And that's why there is no Fortinet software or license, etc. It's only ways to do it and play with it. So here you have a little bit of explanation. We have an official documentation of how to use FortiGate on OpenStack. So I will go through using it. And here you have a bunch of different examples of things. Again, as usual, the scripts are pretty simple. So instead of telling you exactly all the different command lines, you can simply go and read it and see what's going on. But first, we do need a FortiGate image. So let's do that. So you go with your support account to view my image. FortiGate is good. Let's take the 5.4. 5.6 will work. And just it just still say 5.4 in the sorry, not the release note, the download. As you can see, we have all the FortiGate images for all of the models. This means, and it's an important thing, our VMs are exactly the same as the hardware. And that's a very important thing for people. This means you can develop, test on VMs and push on hardware consistently and confidently it will work. So my image is downloading. As you can see, it's a very small image, 35 megabytes, which is, I can say, based on the last Etsy plug test, the smallest image of all the VNF vendors. So let's push that to the right machine. Download is almost done. As we are at it, we're going to need the license file. So let's get the license file. You can have an evaluation license or a permanent license, whatever. It's the license file. You got it here, and you can push it to the machine. The username you choose for your Ubuntu machine doesn't matter. As long as you can do sudo with it, it's okay. So that's why you see here Tiger, which is a reference to our team. You have a bunch of Fortinet, Ubuntu. Make the one you want. The only constraint, and you need to be able to sudo, because as you see, we make a lot of changes on those machines where the OpenStack runs. So it's going to be installed there. Let's move to here. So we are in the 48 section. We push the license, and I will create a link, or just change the name. The important thing, if you do, the default is you push an image. So you have here, this is how you push an image. Sorry about that. And then the important part when you know the boot is to have config drive on, and then you can pass the license, the name, etc. So Nova has a, let's check if we can access our, we can't. The credentials are in home Nova RC. And then you can see I can do OpenStack command line. in this folder, I have a script called minipoc deploy. What is this script doing is creating two networks, two VMs, Ubuntu VMs, and a FortiGate, connect the FortiGate in the middle, etc. Well, we'll go through the detail of that in a minute. Let's see if the download is, the upload is finished. Yes. So I need in that directory FortiOS kubectl2, verifying it's the right, yes, it's the right term. So you can see that to boot my image, I will need to upload my image first. This is that part of the script. And I will need to use the options config drive. The key name is mandatory even if it's not used. A flavor, the user data, the networks, and the license file. The user data, let's have a look. It's, for people who know, it's the default Fortinet names, and here you have some of the configuration that are necessary in these environments, like the default gateways on the first host, setting up the MTU. Hopefully this will be removed. There is a bug. The DNS, etc., to make it work and validate its license. Now, without further ado, we're going to automate that full thing. So if you're curious about how this works, you can see the command lines here. Like you see, neutral net create. You also see, if you read my scripts, that I check if, for example, the network exists. Because OpenStack allows you to have two networks with the same name, and this is something I don't want, because if you have two networks with the same name, then you can only reference by UUID, and UUID are not really human friendly. So I want to keep having only one name for one thing. That's why I do it. So you can see that my script is currently deploying two Ubuntu machines, two networks. This part is the management network connected to the internet via the router. This is how you get floating IP associated and can get back in the cloud. And I make some checks, so I do not overload that machine. You can see it's pretty fast to get the machine up. Another important thing that you see here, you need unfiltered port, so port security disabled for FortiGate. Let's have a look. This is how you boot. This is the minipoc deploy. So this is how you boot a normal machine. Nothing fancy. That's for an Ubuntu machine. And here you can see how you boot a FortiGate. Here I create, this is important, this is how you create the port with a fixed IP address and a name. And then you associate that port to the FortiGate. And you need this. The FortiGate as a firewall is also a router, and if you don't allow this, it's ARP filtering, and then you don't have a router. You can't go promiscuous. That's the default on the cloud. It's not OpenStack specific, it's any cloud. Even on VMware, you will have to be careful about those things. Here I choose to create my ports and give them an IP address in advance. So I fix the IP address. Even though I use DHCP in the VMs, it will always get that one. I do that so that it's easier when you give and you create routes for the other guys, which I did also here in the subnet. The left subnet have a route by default to the right subnet going through FortiGate, because I know the IP in advance. So it's pretty convenient to be able to fix things that way. It's not mandatory. You can also disable the port security once you have boot an image on a network, find the port, and disable security on that port. Okay, let's move to this. So my FortiGate is still building. Just timeout on the horizon. Okay. So you can see in the log here that my license has been validated. And now I can go to the floating IP. And see my FortiGate. Oh, it's a 5.6. I probably copy another one, but that's fine. It shows you it works with 5.6 too. And if I go to see my interfaces, you can see I get my 4040-254 as expected. Now what we can do is have a look at what's going on here. You can see that our allow everything rule from CloudInit has been applied. So it shows you can automate really a lot of things here. Let's move to this fellow, traffic right. 10, 10, 10, 11, 15. So let's connect to it. You You can see I have a route to 10, 20, 20, 20. Oh, now I'm on the right. I wanted to go on the left, sorry. Left is 14. You can see I have a route to the right here. This is the right. And it was 23. And I did set up Apache, so what I can do is wget or ab. I never remember. I need to remember how to do this. Okay, I could check. Here is an example of an AB. So I can do HTTP request to the other side. Let's move back to FortiGate. And deny. You can see I can't go again. And ping doesn't go through. Shows you the firewall is blocking. And here you can see the peak of traffic that we did just before. We can now move to something else. So, just here you can create the two and the environments you want. Of course, I love to automate everything, even cleaning. So you can just clean this. Have a look in OpenStack. One that I love is the network topology because it shows it's pretty comprehensive. And you now see there OpenStack is quite clean now, and we can now move to the next one. Okay, now that we've done with a script and basically command lines, let's go to, and you can do that from the GUI, but that will be quite cumbersome. You will have a lot of clicking around. There is an orchestration capability in OpenStack itself called Heat. It's very close to Amazon CloudFormation, to a point where you can reuse Amazon CloudFormation format in it. The idea is to be able to automate inside OpenStack itself. It's great. It's using Tosca format in YAML, and you have this in the file is called heat minipoc, meaning we're going to play around with the same POCs, 2 networks, 2 VMs, FortiGate in the middle, allowing you to create traffic, to do stuff, because it's a very common way to play with it. The idea of that setup is you have access and floating IP to all the VMs, so you can really access the VMs as you wish and do experiments. That's the whole point. So now we're going to focus on how we do the same thing as we did with a script. So this is a script, a bit advanced because you can rerun and it's not doubling the name and waiting for completion on the long run task. So we're going to express the same thing in the Heat template format. So let's go with a former editor. It's easier to read, and you have the way to deploy it at the top here. We're going to do that and read the format later. So go back here. You need to run the previous ones to have this running, or upload the OpenStack image yourself. Let's go here. And have a look. And you can see all the objects being created, instantiated, etc. by, sorry, wrong button, by Heat. So this means IP association, resources, the events, and the template. Okay, let's leave Mr. Heat to his job and have a look at the format. The format is a YAML format, meaning this is the parameter section, and then you go down to the different parts. The number of space is extremely important in YAML, and never put a tab if you're not used to YAML. There is some like YAML lint available on the internet. Then we declare, so those are our inputs and parameters we can change, especially if we do it with the GUI. sorry, never forget to stop your notification and chats when you do a video. And then we declare our resources. So the way to declare is you declare the left network. It's a type OS network neutron net. Neutron is networks in OpenStack, and parameter left, and then the subnet. You can probably do the exact same thing with CloudFormation on AWS. It's probably going to be very similar. Just the type will need to be adapted. So this is how you declare the port. So this shows you basically how you declare things compared to running a CLI. Of course, I need my floating IP. I have my server. I could have referenced the file and not put the complete content in it. But if I reference files, I can only use my it template in the CLI format. And many people love to use the GUI. So if you use the GUI and when you create, so we have our stack, and wants to create your own stack, you need to be able to copy paste the whole thing in it. Let's have a look at the network topology again, and you should be able to see our previously deployed you can see the previous FortiGate is gone. My new FortiGate is up and accessible. So go again. So I comment out here in this file what you should do if you want to add your license file inside your template instead of putting it in an external file. This allows you to use it with the GUI for those who love to do that. As you can see, I also need a little cloud init for my Ubuntu, especially that part to enable the second interface. Why you can access it, and it's a bit weird. And I decided to install Hyper-FTP dump and Apache, which are the default when you try to generate traffic and do some of the things, and then I can see the different information in my output. And I can check with the CLI that I can get a machine, which gives me all the information about the floating IP to address them, for example, which can be parsed also. And here we go, we did the same setup with an automation and orchestration tool, the one included into OpenStack. Let's clean it. and move to the next step. Okay, now, so we did a manual CLI-based deployment of our VNFs. If you go back to the reference architecture again, we have that NAVI fully set up, deploy usable, and we could deploy with this and with the orchestration part, which is basically embedded into this NAVI part here. Now, what we want is really to use a full architecture with a manual, with the fully external to the Vim orchestration. People want that for many different reasons. First is multi-cloud. If you have your orchestration out of your Vim, you separate your troubles and you have a multi-cloud. So in the previous ones, we had Rift.io as a demo. We will keep going with that one in the code. And if you're interested, look at the previous video for call for 40 demo 1. In this new instance, we have Cloudify. Cloudify is coming from Gigaspace, and it's an open source one again. And we automate the setup of it. So let's move on and do the installation because it takes a bit of time. So gas, you go to the Fortistack folder, to Cloudify. If you check, there is a Rift. There's still a Rift.io, and we have others in the radar, but for now it's Cloudify. Of course, a README to explain you what to do and how to use it. But first we need to deploy Cloudify. So what this deploy script is doing is downloading the software and installing a Cloudify manager in a Lexi format on the side of the OpenStack environments external to it, and then use the OpenStack from there without using resources on the VM pool, which allows you to put more on that part. So let's, as you can see, it's using CentOS, so don't think I'm only Ubuntu. And then we'll have an example of how to deploy with it and how to work with that. It's a very important part of the full architecture to be able to do multi-region, multi-cloud with a single orchestrator who can manage and access all those parts. For the non-telco people, multi-cloud, you can do and orchestrate multiple workloads in your public clouds and your private clouds with the same tool, because you declare your environments in an agnostic way, not in the format of the cloud you run on, which allows you to easily switch from one provider to another, whatever happened. And for NAV and VNFs, those networks are anything but flat. It's not a big data center. It's covering the country, and for latency reason, you want to be able to deploy on multi-cloud. So it's very important to have those manual in the radar. So for the most curious of you, to install Cloudify Manager, you use Cloudify, and you have a special bootstrap mode using the blueprint. The blueprint is what describes your workload, what you want at the end, and how to scale, how to heal etc. In a way that you can also not only deploy once, but act on it and change things. So now Cloudify is installing. We'll keep it running until completion. So we'll have to have Cloudify installed, and we can see this IP address is the IP of the Cloudify manager. Let's have a look at Cloudify manager itself. It's 42. It's 10.42. As usual, admin Fortinet. Here we go. Here we can see our FortiGate is going to be here, and the deployments. So here you can see the different users, the tenant, the groups, all the goodies of Cloudify in these environments, and of course the dashboard. Let's have a look at what we got into the GitHub project. So go to Cloudify. Of course, we did a little explanation. We'll see we don't need that anymore. Will be fixed. We get FortiGate minipoc. Again, the same minipoc with the blueprint and the inputs. It's important to check in the inputs. So you recognize those will be okay, and as we run minipoc deploy, this one is already there. You need to enter and replace this with your FortiGate, actual FortiGate license, otherwise it won't be valid. Of course, I will not show you how to do that, and in another version we will try to use the Cloudify secrets to make this hidden to the users, because here it will appear in the log. As you can see here in the blueprint definition, it is a Tosca format. For those who want to know, it's Oasis Tosca. The OpenStack config has been managed by the script installing Cloudify Manager, so you don't even have to worry about that part. So it shows you what Tosca descriptor is basically defining your resources and the link between your resources. And again, you will recognize those different cloud init, etc. the same as we had before. The idea is to have the same POCs, the same use case, and see the different environments. Okay, now I'm going to change my input to put my real license. Of course, it will be blurred. Okay. In the README, I have a little cheat sheet to this, so you can just forget those ones. You can run this to be sure. And I go to the folder where I have my blueprint. And I create a blueprint. Of course, I can do the same from the GUI here, if I want to. So you see it's already there, but I could have uploaded from the file here, or URL. But I love to do things with CLIs. So we're going to do that now. Of course, you can give it another name. Let's go see in OpenStack what's going on now. Nothing yet, because I declare a development but did not deploy it. It's called execution of task. I can have a look with a neat GUI of what will be deployed and a different task. So my deployment is created with the inputs, etc. The idea is you can have the same blueprint, like the template, multiple deployment with different inputs that you can show here. In order to really have multiple of the same if needed. Now, of course, what I want to do is to install my Minipack. We go see the dashboard, we'll see the logs, the events. And you see that the workflow install is started. So if you're curious about Cloudify, of course, you can reach out to them, or even better, try it, thanks to my Fortistacks. And as you can see, Cloudify is also deploying our environments the same way as we did before. Here you can see the license in the logs, which is bad, but we're going to fix it in an upcoming release thanks to the secret storage management. I just need a bit more time to validate it. Here you can see in the deployment that I have 10 running nodes, no failure, and that the install is started. If you go in the deployment and you check the different workflows, and you can define your own, there is multiple different workflows like healing, scaling, update, because onboarding, instantiating a workload once is very nice, but the real job of ops is update, upgrades, modification of the running thing. Again, let's have a look. It's probably FortiGate as it's connected to the three networks and not only two. The floating IP changed. But we can connect to it. So it shows you it's the same. Just need a bit of time to register to Fortinet. And here we go. So starting from there, you can use Cloudify, you can create your own workloads, and the full promised stack to be able, of course, to run Fortinet products and VNFs, but also your own, and enhance it because it's an open source GitHub product live. You can also check that there is multiple branch already. I accept pull request, of course. So if you have a very nice use case demo running on it that you like, please share it with the community so anyone can benefit, can share, and can enhance. With this, I want you to leave you with our GitHub account for the team, where you can have more goodies like an SFC demo, the FortiOS API calls to call the REST API of our FortiGate product, and the associated Ansible modules, the same for FortiMail API, and another one on netconf and SFC. And the different certification we've done, plus we have on the branch an open button as an orchestrator also for the more curious, and we're already working on more advanced OpenStack and up to date, because the one here is Mitaka. We already have a Newton working and experimenting with SFC. So stay tuned. You will have more goodies, more goodness soon in Fortistacks, and maybe not only OpenStack. And hope you enjoy it and you play with it. Don't hesitate to give feedbacks, bugs in the GitHub project. That's where we keep all our stuff handy. With this, have a very good rest of your day.